Peter Wynne was born in Cochrane to Peter and Madeline Wynne. He is Swampy Cree from the Loon clan and is registered with Moose Cree First Nation, located in Moose Factory, Ontario. Peter was identified as gifted at an early age. He began conducting ceremonies in the 1980s and has continued to do so since that time. He is a pipe carrier as well as conductor of both the Sweat Lodge and the Shake Tent ceremonies. Peter has done healing work across the country as well as in the United States. He has been called upon by many individuals, communities, and medical facilities to assist others with his healing gifts. He works with many ailments, illnesses, chronic pain, and mental health using traditional medicines and ceremonies. Peter is one of the first to bring traditional ceremonies back to the communities of James and Hudson's Bay through his traditional education from elders Albert Lightning, Albert Ward, Alex Skeet, Archie Chichu. As a survivor of residential school and day school, he believes in the importance of revitalizing our culture through language, ceremonies, and traditions. He also attended the first court case for residential school in Cochrane, Ontario as the elder with Ed Matatuaban. Peter is a recognized healer in his community and is repeatedly called upon by the Hospital of Wynne Bay Cook Traditional Health Program in Moose Factory to conduct individual and family traditional healing with community members since the beginning of the program's creation. Peter shares his knowledge and teaching on the medicine wheel, 7 grandfathers, firekeeping, men's roles and responsibility, various lodges, and the building of those lodges, the teepee, various protocols. He also leads traditional medicine walks and the preparations of medicines, salves, teas, and poultices. He has attended Canadore College, Nipissing University, and FNTI, Ryerson University, to expand his knowledge through academic learning. Today, Peter lives in Etobicoke and is working as a traditional healer with Anishinaabe Health. He also travels to communities across Turtle Island as needed.
Well, today I guess we'll talk about some of the teachings that I've inherited from the elders that I've learned from, and there's a multitude of them that have really helped me to get to where I am today and to try and continue on to live up to their legacy, I guess, because a lot of them were well known for the work that they did in the communities and abroad, and traveled with them for extensively for some years, and then kind of one day the old man says, "Well, I'm going to boot you out the door now." He said, "Okay, that means you're on your own. The rest you'll have to learn on your own." So that's how my beginnings in this way of life, and learning the ceremonies, performing the ceremonies, and assisting communities in all facets of whatever it is that's come upon them, I guess, in whatever circumstances that have led them to whatever situation that they have. And what we utilize is a lot of the teachings. And I always wondered, the elder would always tell me, you got to give them teachings. It drove me nuts. I was like, what the heck do you mean by teachings? I was like, till one day I was over in Ottawa and family had asked for me to come and help. So I did that. And we did the pipe ceremony and passed the feather around. Nobody really said anything. So anyways, I just sat and I started to say, well, tomorrow we'll gather again and so forth, and because they were just getting to know me. And that evening I was laying around in my room thinking, okay, then what that elder kept telling me about teachings. Finally I clued in on it. Okay, I know what the heck he's talking about there now. So the next day we went and I explained everything. The process, I explained the ceremony, what it was all about, and gave a lot of teachings for, I don't know, quite a while. We were there all day. And the second time, though, what I noticed was once they received that understanding about their own identity and their own traditions, they were able to understand that and finally open up. And they just talked. They took their time. I let them do whatever. Every one of them. By the time we were done that day, it was after 5, I think. And I didn't realize we had gone that long. And that's when I realized what just the importance of all these teachings are towards giving our people an understanding about a specific way of life and how that can be incorporated into our life and to sustain us and work towards getting our families to the best of their abilities, given limitations and so forth, as to their outlook on life and their health, I guess, in terms of their own spirituality. So one of the things that we were first taught was the importance of that medicine wheel and the medicine wheel of life and the directions and the center and how to utilize that to heal and help people to heal. It's not us that does the work. You don't have to force anything, I tell people, or to try to make things happen. Because the teaching of the tobacco is, once you give that tobacco there, you just go there, and whatever is supposed to take place at that particular point in time is going to happen at that gathering. That's what's going to take place. And that was the first teaching I received about getting that tobacco and accepting that tobacco. And to understand that tobacco, because like anybody else, when I first started out, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Put tobacco down, and I kept telling the elder, why are we doing this? He says, the only way I can explain it to you is in layman's terms, is whatever it is that you're asking for. So when you grab that tobacco in your hand and you're sincere about it, and you're asking for good things, when you go and put that tobacco down, whether it's in a fire or on the earth, Mother Earth, and that's what's going to happen. That's how much faith you have to have in what it is that you're doing and how much belief that you need in order for that to make that happen. And it's not about personal gain. It's about, enriching your own life and your own peace of mind, and hopefully help others along the way by educating them about all these simple little things that are so important and an integral part of the ceremonies, because our ceremonies are very, very strong and detailed, and they're based on a pretty strong foundation, pretty strong philosophy and spiritual understanding and tapping into the universe. And we used to wonder about that. What do they mean by that, tapping into the universe, It's the unseen, because our concept of medicine is far different from mainstream. The medicine can be our water that's there. It can be the trees. It could be the sun. It could be the grandmother moon. It could be tapping into the universe and allowing that to come through. And like the elders say, whatever's supposed to happen will take place there. And that healing will come for those people. And they'll wonder about it. And they'll come back for more. Looking for life is what they're looking for, every one of us. Trying to find a resolution to our own, I guess, inconsistencies that we have in relating to our environment as Indigenous people. And one of the things that they start to show me more as I get older, one of the most beautiful things I've seen was the tree of life. That tree is so massive that even the roots are just so huge. Beautiful, beautiful. And below it is that orb that holds all that up. And from there, the people are coming down from the heavens on that tree. And there's all walks of animal life and all that on that tree, and they're coming down. And they're starting to spread in every direction possible. And that's Indigenous people here in North America. Start to move in different directions everywhere. And that took time to evolve. But there's a lot of commonalities I see in that, especially when we talk about utilizing the trees or making of masks or corn husk masks, or even into the States where you go into the Badlands where there's not much. They've still got that original teaching of those masks. And they make them from whatever the geography allows that tribe to utilize, I guess, and make that come alive for us. And even in our area, in the James Bay area, we found culturally modified trees, abundance of them. And I've been privileged to be a part of that when they were doing their archaeological digs and stuff like that. I've been invited in to come and interpret what went on there and what was this place for and so forth. So I would just do the prayer and grab that tobacco and ask, okay, show me what went on here. And they would show me the visions of the elders, women, children, everybody. Fires where they were. And when I got there, they were all waiting for me. And I thought, okay, where's the big fire? The big fire pit, is there a fire pit here? Yeah, it's over there on the other side. Okay, let's go there first. And I start to see native people kind of appearing. But the clothing they had was really dark, dark brown, deep tanned. Not like what you see today, where it's lightly tanned. Everywhere what I looked at there and the way they were dressed, it was very brown, very deep brown. And the only thing I could come to that conclusion was that because materials break down, they rot. So they smoke them deeper, they last longer. And I started explaining that. I said, okay, where's the fish? Where's the spawning area? So everything there that I was shown beforehand was actually there, and they're wondering, how the hell do you know all this? I said, I don't. I said, I just asked. I said, before I got here, and that's what they're showing me. I said, I'm just interpreting the visions for you to tell you this is a fishing spot, a summer spot. It's really what it was. Families come here and gather and smoke their fish, whatever, and spend the summer here. And then they move on to wherever it is their actual community was. And that's the things that this way of life can really teach us about our people. And that it's not really lost. We just need to tap in, just like the elders said, that tap into the universe and through prayer and ceremony. And it's going to bring the answer to you if you have that ability, that gift to do that. And it's not something that's taken lightly. It's very serious stuff at times. And that's how I learned from the elders to be able to relate to others. And they talk about that medicine wheel, the medicine wheel of life. And that was our foundation. You know, in academia they say that in order to be a nation you have to have a philosophy. Well, that's our everything for us, the way I was taught. In that sense that it holds everything for us, and there's nothing amiss there. It's all there. It's just us. We have to be able to know how to work that and to bring that into light and into today's terms. Like the elder said, these ceremonies are old, ancient ceremonies, some of them. But they're just as valid today as they were back then, and even more so because of the conditions that our communities are in at this point in time. Not only our community, but it's pretty much everywhere. And try and bring ourselves up. And one of the things that I found so strange is that working in this field is when I work with them ancestors, it's like they don't recognize anything else except whatever was here originally. That's indigenous people. And, you know, and I'll give you an example of that. You know, people were poaching and all that, non-native people up north. And they showed me that, what they were doing. And the only thing the spirits were upset about was that it's not about the law, it was about them not going to get that moose and bringing it home to eat properly and to take care of that animal. So that's what the spirit world was upset about. So I told the community, you know, there's things going on around here that people are not really relating to. And the spirit world's kind of upset because, you know, it's like subsistence and existence for all nations that, you know, and the spirits were just more upset about them being not going to get their kill and taking care of it and dressing it and getting it ready. So I learned a lot about that. Even our pictographs, you know, those are what's recognized because they light up. When you go, then they'll light up. Those drawings will light up. There's stories in them, you know, and they come out of that rock. So those things weren't more like today. You see artists, they're just drawing some of them. Some of them put their visions on there. But in essence, those were very valid stuff that was recorded by our people. That's what those things are. And I start to understand that they're still viewing a lot of this stuff, even though, you know, Canada's a mixed multitude of nationalities. And I started to realize that the spirit world here and the way we were taught and everything that we were given is exactly what those elders were talking about, the validity of it and how we can still utilize all that today, but that we can share that with other nations today, you know, to try to get them to understand, you know, for those that want to begin to try and understand us, to learn about our own ways and to realize the richness of it. And that's what those elders keep alluding to, is all those things that come to us, whether they're physical or in the spiritual realm or in the philosophy or in the teachings of our people. And I give examples, like there's a story we use in the Bear Lodge. My lodge is facing south, and I'll explain that after. And it's not to say that it's right or it's above anybody else or anything. It's just the way I was taught. Nothing wrong with the other doorways. You know, I've been to Sioux sweats, you know, Medewan sweats, sweats with Blackfoot people, pretty much everywhere in my time, I guess. And they're all beautiful ceremonies. They're all should be coming out to the same if we're all on the same page, I tell people, that's where we're supposed to be. No one's higher than the other or better than the other. Just like the elder says, even I am a child in here. I'm looking at him, he's like 80 years old. What are you talking about? I was just a young kid. What do you mean by that? I finally had that nerve to ask him, what do you mean by that? You're, I'm thinking physically you're 70 years old or whatever. I'm 20. And he says, no, he says, in here we're all equal in this lodge. No matter what color, no matter what age, we're all the children of the Creator, each and every one of us. And that's what really got my attention. There's no hierarchical, really, in a sense. There's a lot of respect for elders and so forth that we've all grown up in as Indigenous people, no matter what culture or tribe you come from or what way you practice. Our elders have always been given that dignity, whether they've just lived an existence of a normal life, and even the other ones that have carried on with the herbal medicines and the ceremonies. You got to be careful out there, I tell people. I went to a community one time and I first met an elder from way the hell up north. And I was supposed to run that sweat. But, he's 87 or so, I said, and I'm like probably in my 40s then. He tells me, grandson, talking in my language, yeah, hand me the pail. Who the hell am I to argue? I'm just a kid compared to him. Okay. Hand it over to him. Now bring me that drum. The other guy was holding the drum. Give him that drum. Okay, now close the door. He says, so we closed the door. Man, that guy sang songs I'd never heard before, anywhere. I said, geez, I better be careful here. I don't know who the hell I'm sitting with. But that really developed into a really positive thing, because when he came and he would just show up out of nowhere and says, I'm here with Peter. And they'd come and get me like 6 o'clock in the morning and say, there's a man out here saying he's with you. I don't recall coming with anybody. No, this is so. Okay, what do you want us to do with him? Well, send him to the chief and take it from there, I said, and then bring him back and we'll see what we can do together, I said. And he'd always do that. He'd show up out of nowhere and just find me, I guess. And, but that man was really strong, carried the thunders. And I know that for a fact because I was sick one day and he just shook my hand and I just felt a bolt of lightning go right through me in and out. And whatever that was gone. That's all he did. So I got to know him better. And that's what I mean by tapping into the universe, into the gifts. And these elders have that knowledge, the ones that practice those ways. Otherwise, we worked together for a good 10 years or so before he got too old to travel anymore and passed away. And I learned that our people still had a lot yet. I went into one elder's home further north again. When I walked in there, all I saw was medicines all over the place, and I'm thinking, I better be careful with this guy. But they sit you down and learn. I said, so I would take you out in the bush and show you some of this stuff. He says, but I hear you're only here for a few more hours. I said, yeah, I wish I would have known. I would have actually made arrangements to stay longer, just to spend more time with you. And starts talking about all that stuff. And just me and him in the house is, you know what the young people today come and see me for? I said, no. You got anything for a hangover? He says, but out of pity, he says, I helped him. said maybe one day they're going to come back and say, well, can you help me with my life? That's why they do that, you know. They don't ever give up. And that's one of our concepts with our elders, is that what I was told is, you know, there's no 3 strikes and you're out. How many times do you help them? As many times as it takes. That was their teaching on that one. Don't ever give up on anybody. No matter how fruitless you may think of the individual, you know, because just one day something in that person or whatever they hear will change their life. So for us, the way I was taught by one of the elders, uh, the Bear Lodge is, our door faces south. And we do that because that's a time in that direction that you're pretty much at your teenage stage and you're starting to get into chaos and trouble, and you're starting to go through trying to figure out who you are as a human being, whether you're male or female or whatever. And you're trying to, you know, utilize something that's there for you. And that's when all this stuff starts to happen, all the chaotic stuff, you know. And then you go over here and you're supposed to be married and have kids and family, and then you get over to your elder stage in the north, you know, and you're supposed to be passing on that information, teachings to your community, to people who come to see you, so forth. And then as you go along, the elders, you're starting to head home now, back to where we come from, the spirit world. And so you get a lot of blessings at that time, you know, that have come to you. And that's the time that when we end in the east, the elders tell us, we do this in this context, in this direction. So we ask the Creator in the east. He's the one who gives the final blessing. And all we say in there is, Grandfather, we've done this ceremony to the best of our ability. You know, if there's anything amiss here, we ask you to correct it and to accept all our words and our prayers here. So that in hopes that the people will have life. And the Creator comes in and blesses. The elders would always do it. When I first started learning from one guy in particular, and he'd always get me to do the east, and I was starting to get a little confused or worried there. I was just a young guy. Why do you always get me to close the east? I said, you know, how come you don't pick others, or you do it yourself? I was starting to catch on. He says, I don't know what it is about you, he says, but the grandfather in the east, every time you do something, he just comes right in right away. I don't know what it is you have or what happened or whatever, but that's why I've been getting you to do the east, he told me, because you can bring them right in. I said, I don't know either. I said, you know, don't have a clue. I kind of have an idea a little bit today, but not much of an answer really yet, you know. Probably won't know that till I'm gone, you know. That's when I'll get my answer. But yeah, this way of life, it was something I was always interested in, wanting to know, because I knew our people were good people, not like the stereotypical notions that we hear about indigenous people and our women and all this, and, you know, degradation of it all. And so I set out to prove a point. Find out who I am. And I go out in the bush when I was young. I go fast for 2 days. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I had an idea. That's something our elders did, you know. Little did I know I was building myself up spiritually to come out of the chaos that we were in, you know, and all the drunkenness and the parties and all that. One of the first ones, I guess, to actually make that initiative and that move in that direction. I just kept going. And then lots more would come, get more responsibility. We want you to do this for us. So I hid from it for a while. I didn't want to bother with it. I just wanted to be my own man and go home and run my own ceremony and not worry about the rest of the world. But that didn't happen that way. They said, no, you got no choice. This is your line of work. This is what you're born for. I went to four elders. They all told me the same thing. I said, oh, I guess I'm stuck here. I guess. What are you going to do? I said, well, what is it that you want me to do? When they came to visit me the last time, the spirits, they turned into human beings floating around there, talking to me, and I wasn't scared. Shapes of human beings in front of me, floating around in the air, and I'm looking at it, kind of strange. I'm looking, colors, beautiful colors. Okay, what is it that you'll have me do? I said. And then before I did that, they said, you can run, but you'll never be able to hide. We'll always find you. So I said, okay, that's it then. And my life changed real quick after. Once I accepted that responsibility, it didn't take long. Within a month, I would say, everything started to open up. Drum groups started to teach kids how to sing, all that kind of stuff. And then next thing you know, I'm running pipe ceremonies. 2 years later, go out and fast for a sweat. I got it, but I didn't do it right away. It took 2 years. I was on my reserve back home in the Moose Factory. And I was talking to my friend Archie, the late Archie Chichu. And I said, there's a sweat lodge over there. Where? He said he couldn't see it. I said, right over there. I'm pointing down. It's an old road that nobody really utilized. It was a winter road going onto the island to the mainland. And I could see that lodge sitting there by itself with a bear hide on it. I said, there's even a bear hide on it. Well, let's go check it out. He says, we went over there. We got there. There was nothing, just an opening. And he said, oh, okay, I know what that means. So that's when he said, you're going to run. I'll teach you how to run it. You'll run 4 sweats. And that's how, after that, you're on your own. He told me, I said, don't worry about the mistakes and all that kind of stuff, because you'll refine it as you go along. And even though the lodges are the same in essence and how they're constructed and whatnot, you'll put your own stamp on it kind of deal, I guess is how the way to talk about it. And they would put that. That's why you see you might have the same lodge, but they're all done differently, like in the way that they process it and perform it and so forth. And that's theirs. It belongs to them. That's how they've chosen to do that, and that's what works for them. So that's why I say that, the sweat lodge ceremonies are all good. There's a lot of beautiful things there for the people. But a lot of times they contend with the heat and they don't understand what that level of heat is or why it's done that way and so forth. So it creates a lot of, I guess, misunderstandings or confusion of try and get people to understand and how prayer works. Our prayers work by the way the elders tell us. The reason why we build that lodge like that, and they talk about all that, and it's pretty common knowledge amongst all the tribes about it being the womb and so forth. But yet we incorporate those teachings into that sweat lodge, those medicine wheel teachings. And mine just happens to start from the south, goes to the west, to the north, and then ends in the east. And in there, the medicine comes from every direction, depending on people's prayers in there. And not all directions respond contrary to popular belief. You'll get some directions that will respond more than others. Some will just be dormant. the other one will move, and then a lot will happen at that time for the people. And that's why we go through those 4 directions, because we know that not all directions will respond. And that's why we have to go through that full circle of life, and to bring the people back, and that blessing of the East comes, and the Creator blesses those people and shares the gift of life to all people who participate in this way of learning. And the grandfathers, as soon as you light that fire, the way the elders tell us, is how they know we're having a ceremony here. As soon as you light that fire, the spirit world up there knows. And they just come right down into them rocks, and they become living ancestors of our people. And they come in with us when we carry them in gently and place them down gently. I see a lot of people tonight just throwing them, but they're learning. There's a lot of forgiveness in this way of life too, because our ancestors, they know what we went through. They know that we're getting back. It's a struggle, within each and every one of us at times, to be able to try and make something good happen, and share that with the people. I've seen many families, just change their life right there. Many of them. They've gone on to higher levels of education even. I get word back every now and then, I just got my master's degree, or I got my grade 12, or whatever. You're helping them to move forward. Just keep, I call it suggestive thought. Oh yeah, then now you got to go to university. Put that in their mind just to keep them going. And they end up being doing very well for themselves, and still practicing traditions and utilizing it to better themselves. And that's what this way of life really can do for our people if they really put their minds to it, if we really work together. And that bear, the way the teachings are, is they're like, the one I could say is that the story goes is that the bear in the village, kids were out playing late in the fall, and it's starting to get dark now. Dusk is coming. Snowstorm sets in, racing all the tracks of everybody, and the elders are calling in their young. But somehow one child went too far. Couldn't hear, couldn't see because the storm had come in. But all he saw was this bear not too far away from him. And he goes to not having fear as a child, just walks towards that bear because that's the only living thing he knows that's around him. And he follows that bear right to his den, and he crawls in there. And he hibernates with that bear. And the elders in the village, throughout the winter months, they're doing their ceremonies, their feasts, praying to find that child. And every now and then, when they would do those ceremonies, they'd lift the spirit plate up. And the people around in the ceremony would see that plate disappear and reappear. And that's how they would get the message that the child was still alive. And they did that all winter long, and that would continuously occur every so often, off and on. That spirit plate would disappear and reappear. And then in the springtime, when the bear's starting to wake up, so is the child. He becomes like that bear. And the bear, thinking back where he found that child, says, I'll just have to lead him home. Takes him to the edge of where he found him. And the villagers, they could see 2 dark figures out in the distance. And they realized there's that boy. And when that boy turns to look at the community, the bear takes off. to leave that boy there because he knows he won't know what to do. So they chased that boy, the villagers. They had to lasso him and snap him out of it, as the elders, the way they put it, to bring him back to being into the human world, because he had become like that bear. And that ceremony, that bear, they're feeding that child spiritually, keeping him alive. That's what was going on all winter. And that's how we learn about when we do our fasts, put people out in the bush, and we raise our pipes and we raise our food and we offer it to the fire or whatever, however people do their ceremonies or their understanding of it. And that's what keeps those people out there alive. Same concept. And then the people in the fasting camp wonder why they're hungry all the time. I just laugh. That's because you're feeding the people out there. You're eating for them. You're helping to keep them alive. And they can make it. Their food becomes the sweetgrass, the sage. That's the way it was taught to me by all the elders that I've learned from about why these medicines are so important and what they give to us. Because when the Creator created life, they tell us, he had to put a piece of himself into each and everything that he created in order for it to have life. And that's why our elders tell us, you don't have far to go to look for the Creator. You just have to make that seed grow there, your spirit, to strengthen your spirit. And that's what these ceremonies do. Whether it's a pipe ceremony, a sweat lodge, a fasting ceremony, all those things contribute to your development and to the overall being, I guess, well-being of our people. And that travels. Those songs travel, that drum travels, and it catches the attention of the universe and the spirit world. And from that, what the Creator gave to us, they know what that means. They've known that since the Creator gave that to us. And you don't have to be an elder, you can be whatever. I said, and it's going to come. If it's meant for you to come, it's going to happen. And that's just the way it goes, I said, you know. And that's what I find about teaching. You have to really listen. If you're just sitting there not paying attention, you're not going to get, you're still kind of deaf to the teachings about life. You're not really there yet. You need more to come out of that kind of realm that you've gotten yourself into. We've all been there, and that's why I say it's the elders that put me where I am today and gave us life, and through the ceremonies, just like the Creator intended us to have, is that life that everyone should have a right to. And unfortunately, that's not the case for a lot of people. And that's the sad part about it. There's so much to talk about, and them spirits, when they come in, they're the ones doing the doctrine. We're just running it, They're the ones that know what's wrong. I'll even ask the earth, Mother Earth, bring the medicines here. You know what medicine they need. I don't. But you know every one of these people in here. Whatever it is that they need, give that to them. And I'll see the plants coming in, going around. They'll actually come into the ceremony. You don't even have to go pick them. They'll do it for you. And that's how I've been taught. And there's so much to talk about. Even the medicine wheel, the old medicine wheels that we hear about that are placed throughout North America. I asked an elder one time about that. Yeah, he says, you know anything you could help protect the community? Yeah, it seems to work, he says. It's a medicine wheel. But you got to build them out of big boulders, he says. You need a lot of people to really do that. So I got some of my answers there from them, and the other elder, yeah, you're too young yet. He says, wait till you get older. You know, you're going to know where to put that, where to build that. Maybe somewhere that people might need it. And you'll show them how to build that. And, you know, those things are lined up with the universe. They're not just made just like that. There's a lot of coordinates going on in that thing. And purpose and meaning. And for those that understand it will know what that means when they come upon it. And it becomes a sacred place for our people. It's a place that protects the community. And that's what he said about that medicine wheel. So, you know, we always have anthropologists and every other nationality studying about what it is, or supposedly trying to figure out what the heck it meant. But, you know, all this stuff will come about again, and we'll know about even more the depth and the meaning of a lot of these things. Even the teepee, that's the grandmother's lodge. The grandmother stands above that crux. She stands there like that for the people. That's her skirt. And in there, that healing, because I asked the elder, what do I do to help the women? He showed me a big teepee and how to line up the poles with the straps and all, how to do it properly. Bring them in there, and you perform your ceremonies in there. And that was meant for the women. But I haven't been able to do that as of yet, and to share that with the people so that the women can get their healing from that ceremony and do that. There's other types of ceremonies, not just full moon, I tell people, for grandmothers. There's another one. But I haven't brought that one out yet. I said I'll share that one day so you don't have to wait for a full moon. There's another one you can do anytime for whatever purpose that you're trying to do to help a person in their life, so that they can get something from that. They have to do some offerings. So when you think about spirituality in its totality, you know, we always ask everybody, where's the universe? And everybody seems to point up. But we're right on it. You know, we're walking on it. You know, you got to look at it from, I guess, an indigenous point of view as to how we interpret the universe and how we utilize all this, because that's what we were given to. And it's not wrong, you know, even though others will say, you know, well, it's not in accordance with whatever. Well, you know, we know where all that went. But for us, this is a way of life that's been there and will continue to carry on and adapt as we move along, you know. You know, we even had sweats in Chicago where, because there's nothing around and you're in an urban center, they build a lodge out in the back and your barbecue's the fire pit. So, you know, even elders have done that just to try and help the people. And they said, you know what? It worked. The ancestors came in to help them people. And, you know, it's kind of sad that we don't have a lot of areas anymore where we can just go and do what we want to do and do it the way we want to do it. But there's so much now that kind of we have to find ways and means to be able to accomplish the same output, you know, that we could have done in a natural setting. So, but we've proven that it can be done. It's not wrong, it's just an adaptation of that ceremony, you know, and how that still can benefit people even in the urban centers in the bigger cities and so forth. So the life is there for each and every one of us. It's up to us to grasp that life. You know, we can't force people, you know. I've seen many people try and try. And I said, you can talk till you're running right out of words, and that's not going to move them until they're something somewhere, something has to click. And that's what's going to change that individual. You know, sometimes it's pretty drastic. Sometimes it's just one word. Sometimes they're just fed up with the way they've been living. And, you know, you can realize you don't need a lot of the booze or all that in your life to be happy, you know, to be living I guess, a full life within your own environment with your family, because that's what it's all about. Try your best to help the families, you know, to get ahead in life and get them in the right direction. Some of the students I had, they were just dirt poor, an old res truck and bands, and first met the guy. Then he passed away. I taught him for years, but he passed away, and I went and buried him. And his son was there. He says, you know, Peter, before you came, we had nothing. And when my dad saw what you were doing and that, it really sparked an interest in him, because he always wanted to know who he was as a Native man. And when you came into our community, that's what he saw, because he always had pictures of Native stuff around the house and all that. And he says that's what really moved him. And what I noticed when you first came to us, we really didn't even have a house. We were living with another family. And things got better over time, got improved. And next thing you know, out goes the res vehicles, in with the new. And he went on doing the stuff that I did in other communities and working and helping families and all that to the best of his ability. And basically, you know, the kids got well educated, some of them, they're, you know, graduated in university and stuff. That's what I tell people, you know, you could have nothing. But if you want that life, and things come just naturally to help improve your living conditions, you know, so that it's there for everyone. It's not just because this one's more special than the other one. It's just, we all have gifts. We just carry them in different capacities. And what I was taught is when we sit in that circle, everyone has goodness in them, and they're born with a gift. So all of us, we connect. We just our gifts kind of just naturally lock in. And whatever is not supposed to be there or whatnot, or whoever needs help, that's when those gifts start to move around. It's not always the person running the ceremony. It could be that person sitting over there doesn't even know they have something. And that thing is going to awaken, and it's going to help that person over there. That's why it's so important to tell us, don't break the circle in the sweat lodges. You know, try to get the blessing try to stay the 4 rounds so that you can receive the blessing from the Creator. Don't go out in 2 rounds, or try to stay, you know. And that's the teachings behind those ceremonies, whether it's a talking circle or sweat lodge or whatever ceremony you're conducting. And that's what's going to help people get stronger there, you know. And there is no shortcuts in them, you know. It's that's the point in time that you're there to work with people and the families and even yourself at times, to help yourself get stronger and stay strong, so that you can carry on and continue to do the work that we do, you know. And it's important because it is who we are. It is our identity. That's really what it's about. And it's not something that we can just easily discard, because our elders tell us no matter which way you follow, when you leave this world, up there you're going to learn your language, they're going to teach you your traditions, your culture, because they're preparing you. Because your future generations that are alive here are going to be praying just like you were one day, asking for help, looking for help. And them elders up there are going to gather you and say, okay, now we taught you everything now, your language, your ceremonies, the whole bit. Now there's one of your people there who's asking for help. Now we're going to send you there. You're going to go and help them now. You're a spirit now. Now you go and see what's going on and try to help them to the best of your ability. And that's why they need us here on earth. They need people to be able to do the ceremonies, to perform the ceremonies, so that we can relate to one another and interact with one another in order for some type of benefit to come out of that for the people and to get them up and running. And that's the way I was taught about a lot of these ceremonies and the concepts behind them. Even the willows work. All them trees, they all pull stuff. They all work, always grabbing things. And us, we only leave them up for 4 sweats. Then we renew them. Because them willows, they work hard too. You got to rest too. You let them go. You rebuild it, and it's fresh again. You even have to move your ground sometimes, your location of your sweat lodge, because even the ground is overworked there. It needs to be replenished and allowed to rest and heal, and then start all over again. Bring that. That's the way, like in one of the communities I go to, I think we have about 4 different areas. We bounce back and forth going like that throughout the years, because that's how many, and you can just see I don't know how many rocks are there from the sweats that we've had for the last 40 years. But I told them, I think it's time to clean it up. We got to figure out what we're going to do with all these grandfathers here that we've used. I said, they just seem to be sitting there like one big crescent moon. I said, it's so massive. And we got to figure out how we're going to put all this together and clean it up. And that's a lot in regards to, the levels. Our elders talk about levels to the spirit world. There's colors that represent, there's 7 of them go up. The last one, that's the heavens. You don't get to see that until it's your time to go. And the Creator's right there. And that's how the elders know just how strong you are, or where you're at in your spirituality, is because them colors come out, and they can only take you up so high, or they can't take you up, and they'll tell you, okay, you got to do some stuff here. You got to replenish things. And how I explain that, it's like that Big Dipper and Little Dipper we call it a man's pipe and a woman's pipe. You got to fill those up. That's how the elders can tell you haven't been doing much in your own spirituality or your own prayers. Inside are, empty or full, and it's up to us to replenish that. It's our personal responsibility to do that. And we do that through cloth offerings, ceremonies, food, tobacco, prayer sticks, whatever. However people, practice their traditions and give stuff. And that's what keeps you strong. And I don't think we're doing enough of that right now, because I don't think we'd be in the boat that we're in at times in a lot of our communities if our people were actually doing that. And the fire is a very important component to our ceremonies. That's our protector. That's our protection. And the people ask, well, how does that work? Well, put your hand close to that and see what happens. That's the simplest way I can explain it to you, but it's far greater than that. You're going to burn pretty quick, I said. That's what that fire does when we have our ceremonies. It's our protector. Watches out for the people. Keeps things at bay. you know, and the things that need to happen and occur in that ceremony, whatever it is, it should come about if we're on cue, you know, with everything, and everything's in sync in our ceremonies, and that we've done it to as properly as we can. Because you got to realize you're bringing in people that don't know anything sometimes. Yeah, they're disrespectful. They don't even know they're being disrespectful. You know, like stuff like that. You know, and so you know you got to be easy on the people too. Can't be hard on them. A lot of them they've never seen this. A lot of them are from maybe CES, or you know they've been ostracized from their communities, or they've been living in an urban environment. They don't know anything. So you got to teach them properly and teach them with kindness, you know. Then they'll come back. They'll want to come back. And that's how you do that. I've always done it in that context. You know, if the women don't understand they're supposed to have skirts, well, don't drag them out. Give them a skirt, blanket, or there's nothing around. You're here. That's the main thing, you know. And so don't be too hard on the younger generations. They just don't know. Anyways, that's about it for now. Thanks.